get this kicked off, everybody, thank you so much for coming to our monthly meeting for the Gulf Coast Real Estate Investor Group. 40 classes. We will have more time for networking at the end. All right. So today we're talking all things Section 8 with our amazing panelists. We have Otto Brewer, one of the biggest Section 8 investors in our area. And we have Christian Williams, who runs the Rent Experts. Does anybody work with Christian already? What? Okay. Well,
I would like to.
you said, yeah. Okay, obviously not Caroline. But, okay, legitimately, he is one of the best property managers in the city. I do not say that lightly, having been in property management myself. It is a tough, tough business, especially managing Section 8. So he's going to give us a lot of insight today into the behind-the-scenes process of managing Section 8 properties. Before that, a huge thank you to our sponsors, okay? Our sponsors, Brooke Gafford. Brooke Gafford runs Perfectly Clean by Brooke, amazing cleaning company. And any of you are flippers and you need to get your house ready to go on the market, she is amazing. Her team's amazing. They show up when they say they're going to show up, and they do an amazing job so that you're ready for photos. Brooke, can you tell us anything more about your company? Sure. Gotta use the mic? Yes, because this does go on YouTube. As you will see on the other side, you'll have, I put all this on you.
Like she said, my name is Brooke Gafford, and I'm the owner of Perfectly Clean by Brooke. We're your local, reliable cleaning company. We do both residential and commercial cleaning. We come in and do one-time deep cleanings. We also do reoccurring cleanings. We do commercial deep cleans, moving out deep cleans. Pretty much anything that should be cleaned, we can do it for you. And like she said, we are reliable and we will show up. Thank you.
Awesome. Yay. And our other sponsor, Brien Griggers and AnchorTitle. Because of these two, we have lunch for everybody. Brien and Anchor are my go-to title company. They have amazing, amazing customer service. When I tell them I need to get a closing done in 48 hours, they get it done, right, Praveen?
Yeah.
They literally got it done to 48 hours. They can get it done in a week. They never drop the ball. Literally my go-to. I don't like when I have to close with other closing companies. So Brien, can you tell us a little bit more about AnchorTitle?
You said it all. Thank you, Mara. I'm Brien Griggers with AnchorTitle. I don't know if all of y'all are aware, we have offices in Mobile, Daphne. Our Daphne location's right up here. Pensacola, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores. So we're uniquely positioned wherever you want to buy, flip, sell. We do commercial as well. So we got offices spread out across the region for you. And if you guys get into Birmingham or Tuscaloosa, we have offices up there as well. So, Laura, thank you for letting us sponsor it, and we're glad to be in business with you. We enjoyed seeing you come in the office and do your thing.
Awesome. And a huge thing, are there any wholesalers in the room? No. Okay, AnchorTitle is wholesaler friendly. One of the few title companies in our area that knows how to do wholesaler closings. They know how to do double closings, which there's really not that many in our area that do that well. AnchorTitle does it really well. So really, really good for the wholesalers in the room. And not here is Harold, our great contractor. He's really busy, but he also sponsored us so that we can have our video producer, Jessica. So thank you to Harold. If any of you worked with Harold, you know he's really, really good at what he does. Really good contractor. Okay, we're gonna do a quick round the room so that we know who everybody is sitting here, and then we're gonna get into the panel discussion. So I'll kick it off. I'm Maura McGrath. I've been a full-time investor for 7.5 years. Now I'm an agent that focuses on helping other investors as well. I focus on rentals and rent-owns and flips. That's a little bit about me. All right, you ready? You're so ready.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Matheson. I'm a realtor in Mobile in Baldwin County. I specialize in working with investors, finding off-market deals, and rentals and flips.
I'm Emilio Alvarez. I'm an investor developer, and everything from buying homes, fixing flips, new construction, ground up, pretty much anything involved with real estate in Mobile, Baldwin County.
My name is Marco Toledo. I'm at EXP Realty. I've been doing real estate sales for about 6 years now. We're both county, Mobile County and Pensacola area, Escambia County. And I've recently become, landlord, and just interested in growing my portfolio and helping others.
Hello, Jeff Johnson. I'm startup Annie Johnson at AJ Cheers in Fairhope, and I'm a junior in high school. My mom likes me to come to these. So.
I'm Kumar Valanhali. First name is Kumar, Kumar. We've been, I guess the best way to describe what we do is we are quiet, discreet, under the radar screen property investors. We've been in the rental property business, both single family homes and apartments now for close to 10 years. And this is my first meetup.
Hello everyone. My name is Praveen. I'm a investor. I have a full-time job also, so this is my side hustle. I have some rental properties, and I'm starting my first Section 8 property soon. And I'm partnering with Kumar also on some flipping properties.
I'm Caroline Cho. Personally, I'm working on acquiring my second rental property, and professionally, I work with Revitalized Realty Property Management.
Eric Oden with Shop House Properties. We create great spaces for great homes and great businesses. Our focus is commercial retail space, apartments, and house flips.
Tom Gallagher with Fairhope Mortgage. I specialize in financing investment properties, including DSCR loans down to $50,000, which is great for Section 8 properties, and anything up to $3-4 million. You bring me something larger than that, I'll find a way to get it financed.
I'm Sam Jeffcade. I'm a commercial banker here with Bryant Bank. This is my office here. I've been in banking 28 years, been at Bryant the last 2. We're a commercial bank based out of, community bank based out of Tuscaloosa. We have 3 offices, one here in Daphne, in Foley, and in Orange Beach, and then we have an office in Mobile. And if you might have seen, we have a new office going up across from the Spring Hill Hospital in Mobile.
And huge thank you to Sam and Brien Bank for letting us use this space. As you know, the hatch is in transition right now, so thank you so much for letting us use this awesome space.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Oliver. I'm a realtor with Real Broker. I've been a realtor for about 2 years, trying to dive into the world of investing. But for now, I focus on helping veterans find their homestead.
I'm Natalie Conrad. I am an investor looking for my next deal. I've done a couple of fix and flips and have a rental.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Eckert, also with Real Broker. I'm a real estate agent here in Alabama, also licensed in New York. So I'm looking for flips and investment properties myself, but also work with out-of-state investors that are realizing that this is a really great place for the next opportunities.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael. I'm a wholesaler here in Mobile, and right now I have a property under contract, and I'm working on getting that done now. So I'm looking for investors for it, and you want to take a look at it, I'll be happy to show you everything about it.
You have a new deal, right, Michael?
Yes.
You just out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. I'm Reiko Suzuki. I have been in real estate investing about 3 years in a few rental properties and private renting, and now owning a few business with partners, and it's really interesting being this business.
I'm Kevin Ward. I've got a 4-plex that developing ground up modular in Oak Creek, the town of Oak Creek, which is real close to Steamboat Springs. And after 3 years, finally last night in the town council meeting at Oak Creek, they approved us.
Mike Darst. I am a number of years around the real estate industry, in and out. I'm just looking to improve my knowledge behind Section 8.
Ashley Darst. I'm his wife, and I'm also a local lender with New American Funding. I specialize in residential lending. So,
My name is Matthew Khalifi. I am an aspiring investor, and I'm looking forward to learning about Section 8 today and getting to meet some of y'all.
I'm Evan Templeton with TCI Property Group. I'm also licensed with EXP, and we have a small team. We fix and flip full time. So we've done a little over 30 flips in the past 3 years, and we're always looking to buy. We do a little bit with rentals, and what else? And we always need more money. So if you have money that you want to lend and get like 12% or whatever, we can probably make something happen. And I have extra deals from time to time on our plates. So if you're ever like, I wonder if they've got any extras, we can only do so much at once. So we may have something. Right now I don't have anything, but there's always tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Dustin Patterson. I moved here from Illinois last fall. I got a few rental properties up there, and then I've done a fix and flip that I'm trying to sell down here, and I just went under contract today with a property that's going to be Section 8. So
Awesome. Awesome. I'm Christian Williams. I'm with the Rent Experts. I've been with them for about 7 years now. We manage a little over 500 properties in Mobile and Baldwin County. I'm honored to speak today. I'm kind of on our Section 8 experience. I'm also an investor. I've done own rentals. I've done flips, wholesale, a little bit of everything. So excited to talk.
My name is Otto Brewer, and I'm not an investor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so that counts. No, I'm an investor. That's kind of my side hustle. I'm in the insurance business, been doing that for about 25 years, and look forward to talking to y'all today about it.
Michael Bailey. I'm a realtor with Elite Real Estate Solutions and part of the Gulf Coast Living team. So I'm in real estate, but have been an investor and flipper, and just like trying to stay up top on what goes on in our industry.
I'm Hannah Bickford. I work with Maura at Water's Edge on her team there.
Awesome. Okay, let's get into it. First of all, Christian, maybe, do you want to just tell everybody what the Section 8 program is in case someone doesn't know, and then maybe introduce yourself, a little bit about your business and your experience with Section 8. Then we'll do intro for Otto, and then we'll open it up for panel and Q&A.
Okay. So if you don't know what Section 8 is, there's two in Mobile. So you have the Pritchard Housing Authority and the Mobile Housing Authority. And it's basically for low-income families that need assistance in renting or finding a home. And so they'll issue them a voucher for a certain amount of money to find a home or help with their rent. They can take that voucher into certain properties that allow Section 8. They can take it and, basically use that to pay for the rent. Section 8 sometimes will pay 100% of their rent, or they may have a portion. So where Section 8 pays a portion of the rent and the tenants have a portion of the rent. Section 8 also is very involved with the whole process as far as, doing inspections, passing the house, and meeting a certain standard. So there's Mobile and then Pritchard Housing Authority in Mobile. And then I work with the Rent Experts. Like I said, we're a property management company based out of Mobile, Alabama. We've been around about 14 years. I've been with them 7 now. We've been doing Section 8 for most of that time. We stopped doing it for about 2 years, from like 2021 to 2023. Try to get away from it and just realize that Mobile is a big Section 8 market, and there's a lot of money made there, and there's a lot of people there looking for houses with vouchers there. So it's a big opportunity to, to have some kind of guaranteed money and a big portion of people that there aren't a lot of houses for. Just about me, I'm married. Been married for 7 years now. I've got 4 kids, all at the age of 6. We live out in Wilmer. That's what I love what I do. I love property management, and I love investing. And I've been kind of in it my whole life. My parents owned mobile home parks. I hated it growing up, honestly, because I was the property manager at 15, cleaning out houses and stuff. And so I wanted nothing to do with it. And then now I'm doing it and I love it every day. So.
Well, my name is Otto Brewer, and I got into Section 8 just a little over a year and a half ago by accident. I have ADD, extremely bad. I've never taken medication for it. I don't believe in it because when I get focused on something, I get really hyper-focused. And I've done ADD investing throughout my whole life. I've flipped, I've bought farmland and sold farmland. My last, I was doing a lot of VRBOs, vacation rentals. But as you know, buying vacation rentals, it's hard to scale. You know, when you're buying something for $500,000, $800,000, it's a lot to scale. And then also very labor intensive. So my son, who's now a freshman in college, when he was 16, was watching TikTok a lot, as most teenagers do. And he's like, "Dad, you really should check out Section 8. And I'm like, "Dude, why would I mess with Section 8? I was like, there's no way in the world I would ever consider doing something like that. And he was watching, I don't know if you've seen him online, but Tom Cruise on Section 8. He said, "You need to watch this Tom Cruise guy." So finally what happened is I did have a lot of VRBOs and vacation rentals. And as I was buying more of those, I had one long-term rental. I even got into buying some long-term rentals that were new construction, tried that, going on the appreciation side. But all this is my side gig, and I wasn't very aggressive. I was just kind of passively doing it. I had a vacancy come open. I bought a house. It was over by Davidson High School, if you're familiar with Mobile. I paid $50,000. It was a decent deal at the time. I'd bought it almost probably about 5 or 6 years ago now. And I was getting $900 a month for it, which I thought was a great rent. They'd been there about 3 years. I said, let's take it to $1,000. I hadn't really ever raised the rent on them. And well, they said, well, we're going to move out. And I'm like, I called their bluff. I'm like, I don't think they're going to move out over a $100 rate increase. Well, they did. They moved out. I'm like, great, now what do I do? So the house sat empty for about 3-4 weeks. And I'm like, are we going to get this thing rented? And I was only asking $1,000 a month, which I thought was really good rent at the time. And they kept, the property manager I was using at the time said, you should consider Section 8. I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. There's no way in the world I would ever consider Section 8. I don't want my house labeled as Section 8. She says, no, that's not how it works. Your house isn't Section 8. It's the person with the voucher who's Section 8. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't want it. I'm not doing paperwork. I don't want to deal with the government. No. So I shut it down. And then she finally comes to me and she says, I have someone that's willing to pay you $1,300 in rent. I said, but I'm not asking $1,300 in rent. I'm asking $1,000 rent. She says, no, you don't understand. They will pay you $1,300 rent. Time out. What's the catch? There's no catch. I will do the paperwork for you. It's just you need to accept her voucher, and she's on Section 8. Oh, is she? Well, she's a single mom. She's never rented before. And I said, you know, and she's like, no, I've vetted her really good. Trust me on this one. If you will trust me on this, I'll do it all for you. And she did it. Well, I got my first paycheck, and it was $1,333. I'm like, time out. What's the catch here? She's like, there's not a catch. I've been trying to tell you this. So I'm very analytical, and I dug in hard, and I watched every episode on YouTube about Section 8. I studied it and studied it and studied it. I'm like, I can't knock a lot of holes in this. Obviously, there's some hoops you have to jump through when you're dealing with the government, the inspections and everything. But I'm like, but they're paying, or I'm only asking $1,000. That's like a 30-some% rate increase over what I was going to get. And the other thing is I don't have to worry about a deadbeat tenant. I'm going to get paid from Uncle Sam. So then I started also digging it, and they talked about how they made it through the downturn. Well, if you had real estate, and you've had real estate for a while, and you went through COVID or you went through 2008 in a downturn, those downturns are real. And especially with vacation rentals, when those downturns hit, I had vacancies for a long time when people couldn't get out. Now, once they got their money from the government, they started going on vacations. So long story short, I'd had a vacation rental on Dolphin Island. I sold it, and I didn't have a whole lot of money to get started on this. I went to bankers. Having a good banker is ideal, and it's the most secret ingredient in this, other than a good property manager. But I couldn't. Most bankers were like, well, we'll do like 5. I'm like, well, I really want to grow with this. I want to scale this. And Tom's got like 700. I'm like, if this guy can do it, I can do it. And they're like, no. We won't consider doing anything, very aggressive. So I struggled around for quite some time until I found the people who bought into my vision and bought into what I did. And so last year, I purchased 40 homes by myself. And this year, my goal is to purchase 60 homes. I run a very small circle, probably 70 to, well, it's probably more like 80% of what I buy is off market. I don't do it with a lot of realtors. I do it with 3 realtors that I work with on a regular basis. I have struggled. Everything that could possibly happen in the Section 8 world has happened to me. I've had murder on my property. I've had deadbeat tenants. I've had them leave a garage full of just junk that takes 2 days to unload it. You name it. But I will tell you that the biggest secret to when you're doing investing is a couple of things. What I have learned in Section 8 or any investing is I've narrowed people down to 2 types of people. There's doers and there's gonna doers. And a lot of real estate people are gonna doers. They'll come to classes like this. They'll sit in here and they'll listen. Because I talked to Maura and I said, Maura, I've always been very open about talking what I want, but now I'm starting to feel like if I'm going to buy all these houses, I want to buy them all, and I don't really want any competition because I'm buying everything you can bring me. And so we got to talking, and like, well, the truth is there's a lot of gonna doers, and there's only going to be a few people that are actually going to jump out and do it. And I said, that's true and that's right, and I believe that. The other thing that you need to be successful in Section 8 is a good property manager. And I feel that having an excellent property manager has been the secret. I met Christian actually when I was about 30 doors in, I think. I'd been, my nose bloodied. I had gone through a couple different property managers. One thing that I have learned through this process is there's nothing wrong with going to someone and having your hat in your hand and saying, I need help. And I've had phone calls and more, hey, you've been in the property management business. Here's the issues I'm facing. What do I do? So I finally have gotten myself leveled out. It took me a little over a year to do it. I ended up bringing everything in-house. I got a property manager, a full-time property manager. I have 2 full-time team members that do my maintenance. I have a buy box. My buy box is, and I do not ever waver out of my buy box unless it's something, a special occasion, or if I'm trying something new. But for the most part, because I have ADD, I stick to my buy box, and my buy box is $50,000 to $85,000. I'll walk away from deals. I don't care. I don't care if you're from Florida and you're going to pay $110 for that house. I'm only going to pay $85,000 because I know it works, and I know that I'm going to stick to my guns. And if I stick to my guns, and as the old saying goes, you kiss enough babies and you ask enough people if they'll do it, someone's eventually going to say yes. So it's a numbers game. And I work on numbers. So I believe that to be successful in life and real estate, you need 3 things. You need hard work, dedication, and perseverance. So you're going to get a lot of stuff thrown at you, and you got to push through it. Here's what I can guarantee you. There's nobody in this room who's going to outwork me. There's no one's going to out-hustle me. And I'm dedicated to what I'm doing. The numbers work. This started as a 5-year project to have 100 homes. And I know that if I have 100 homes and I'm bringing in $500 a month in cash flow, you can do the math. That's $600,000 a year. And I figured I can do that. And I want to retire. And I started this when I was 50. At 55, I could retire at that's a pretty good living. Well, I figured out real quick, heck, I can actually do this a lot faster. I bought 40 last year, so I think in 2 years, I honestly believe by the end of this year, I'll have over 100 homes that I have on Section 8. I think I can turn that into 200 or 250 in the 5 years. At that point in time, my oldest is in medical school. She's 23. My youngest is a freshman in college, and I have one that's a junior in college. They'll be done. And as a dad, I can step away. To me, it's part of my retirement. and it's part of my legacy. So all three of my kids are go-getters and they're hustlers. They all three have already bought their own house. And I think someone's going to step in and run the family business. But Section 8 is not for everybody. You need to know that. If you can imagine going to the DMV on steroids, that is what it's like dealing with the Section 8. That's true. Christian, he knows Section 8. He can tell you some more war stories than probably me. That is not my strength. I have learned a long time ago in the business world, I suck at a lot of things. And admitting that you suck at some things is important because what I strengths that fill my weaknesses. I can't deal with that. I don't have the patience. I got one speed, full throttle. The government doesn't work at full throttle. They work at granny gear, and my personality and their personalities do not mesh. And I will push, and they're like, no, dude, we don't care. So they don't mesh. So I've had to hire somebody, and this is where Christian steps in, and that could help you out. Is that he knows how to deal with these people. He's done it for years, and that is the secret. As the Colonel says, secret 11 herbs and spices is what make that work. Am I fair on saying it's kind of like the DMV?
100%.
Yeah. On steroids. What else? I guess we'll open this up a question. I can talk all day long about this.
I know a lot of people aren't familiar. I think that a lot of people's question is, how do I get started in Section 8? Maybe, Christian, you could walk us through the process. Like, what can people expect in terms of what types of inspections are they going to face? What type of paperwork? What type of lead time do they need to anticipate? Like, if we go out and we find someone a good Section 8 property tomorrow, what does the process look like from there? So say we close tomorrow on a Section 8 property and we give it to you to manage. What does that look like?
So I'll start by, what houses can be Section 8, and it's all of them. So it doesn't matter the house. It can be Section 8. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be super nice. It doesn't have to be the lowest thing on the market. There's a couple of things that you want to look for, and Mara probably knows this just as well as me, as far as what Section 8 is going to require. It's like if you go to buy a house and all the windows are painted shut, is it going to be worth your time and money to try to get new windows and get this working? So there's some stuff. And then price range, Section 8 is going to pay to a level, and there's going to be a max. So they're looking at zip code, bedroom, bathroom count. And that's kind of it. So that they're not, you might have the nicest house in Spring Hill, it's in 36608. And so they're saying, hey, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house at 1,200 square feet. Well, it's Spring Hill Avenue, or it's Spring Hill. So that house might rent for $1,800 because it's a nice area, but Section 8 saying it's a 3.2 and an 08 zip code. So we're only going to pay you $1,400. But you might have a 3.2 that's in a lot rougher area that, if I put it on the cash market, I might only get $900, but Section 8 comes in and says, well, we'll pay, it's a 3.2, so we'll pay, $1,400, something like that. So you have to be smart still, and you have to run the numbers on anything that's cash, Section 8. I tell owners that all the time, that run the numbers yourself, send it to me, let me look at it. Let your agent look at it that knows what they're doing, and make sure you run the numbers realistically, and make sure that it's a good deal. And then as far as getting started on the program, it takes some learning and getting used to. Section 8 does, I think, once a year or every 6 months, like a seminar where they'll walk you through kind of new landlord setup, what they're going to require, kind of how to set it up. They've got a lot of good resources on their website. But if you're trying to get in touch with them to talk to somebody, that's probably not going to happen. And that's just me being real. You might can email them and they might respond at some point, but so just talk to people. You're free to talk to me. I can give you my information if you want to kind of walk through it. But it's just, finding a tenant that has a voucher, and you don't have to allow Section 8, and you can only allow Section 8, so and you can open it to both. So a lot of our houses, I've got some owners that only want Section 8. They say, hey, I don't want cash tenants, put my house out and only take vouchers. I've had some owners that say, I don't want vouchers. And then I've got some that say, give me the best qualified tenant, whatever's best that's out there. Yeah, what was the last part?
Maybe talk about the inspection. So the initial inspection and the annual inspection.
Yeah, so they'll do, once you have somebody with a voucher and they say, I want the house. So you'll fill out this paperwork packet of saying, they've got the house. You'll send it over. Section 8 will schedule an inspection, and that's kind of where the fun starts. It may take a couple weeks, and they'll put you on the schedule list, and they'll come do their initial inspection. The initial inspection's always going to be the hardest, and there's a list of criteria that they're going to look for. The big ones are all the windows have to open and close on the initial inspection. If you've got 2-prong outlets or 3-prong outlets, they have to be grounded. So you can't have, like, if it used to be a 2-prong and somebody just randomly put a 3-prong on there and it's not grounded, they're going to make you change that out. Any kind of paint on the exterior that's flaking, they're going to make you change that out. Pritchard, now you have to have 10-year smoke detectors in there. You can't just have regular ones. Mobile, you just have to have smoke detectors, and if you got cash, you got to have CO2. So that'll be the initial inspection. Once it passes that inspection, tenant can move in, and then they're going to do a yearly inspection after that. The yearly inspection is a little bit easier, but they do Zoom calls for Mobile, and then Pritchard does in person. But the Zoom calls they're going to send it to the tenant and you. We tried in the past relying on the tenant to attend those Zoom call meetings, but it just doesn't work. They're not responsible 90% of the time. So we go to those meetings now and attend them Zoom call. You have to walk the inspector through it. It does take time. Usually I like to have one of my maintenance guys there to make sure that we can try to pass on that first attempt and get it through. They're usually going to find something 90% of the time that you have to take care of. Inspections are probably the hardest part, I would say. And Otto, you might agree with that. I don't know. And just like I said, the time that it can take to get through those. But most inspectors, once you get to know them, they'll kind of trust you to a level, and they'll kind of work with you to some level on those. But it's some of the stuff that is needed. It's people want to live in a house that's nice and taken care of. Whether it's on Section 8 or not. So some stuff is needed, but some stuff can be extra.
Yes, but
Of course, that's the whole point.
Yeah. Christian, for you, I'm wondering, is there like some sort of Section 8 list where potential tenants that have the Section 8 voucher look and that's where they find the properties, or how did they find those properties? Is it just through Rent.com and it says Section 8? Or how do they?
That's a great question. She asked, is there a certain place where Section 8 tenants are looking for properties? So it's affordablehousing.com. If anybody wants to write that down and look it up. It used to be Go Section 8, but it's affordablehousing.com. And that's where when they give those tenants a voucher, they're going to say, hey, look on this website for your houses. And it's all Section 8 houses on there, pretty much. We still put it in our description that, this house is Section 8 approved, and we still put it on Zillow and everywhere else. So we still put it everywhere else, but only our Section 8 houses that's on affordablehousing.com. Every one of our Section 8 houses go on there. Our other houses do not.
They're told to go to that website from the Housing Authority.
So does the owner or whatever need to pay for it to be on that website, or just Section 8 just put it on that website for you?
You put it on there. You can pay for, just like Zillow, you can pay for a premium subscription where it goes to the top of the list. You can also do a free listing.
It's free. Christian and I debated on this a while back, but I'm a big believer in paying. I pay premium. I pay for the biggest package they got. It's the advertising I do, and that's how I get my leads.
And question to you, you said that goes into my next question. You said 80% your purchases are off from Git.
Yeah.
So what are the other 20%? Do you use wholesalers at all?
I do. I bought maybe 3 or 4 last year from wholesalers. Not opposed to wholesalers. It's just wholesalers I've found. I buy lipstick. That's important to note. I'm working on a time frame. And I will tell you, if you ever scale in Section 8, there's something you also need to know. You'll get into a cash flow problem because this isn't like market rate tenants. So a market tenant, I'm going to get that thing rented in 2 weeks. You're going to get paid and you're going to get rolling. That doesn't work in Section 8. Section 8, let's be realistic, it's going to take 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks before they get that inspection. And I like to think I'm really good at it, but I failed too this week. So let's just say we pass it 50% of the time. You're going to fail your inspections 50-50. And then what happens is it's another 2 weeks for them to come back out, or 3 weeks. So at that point in time, you're pushing on to 2 months. Once it passes inspection, then it depends where you hit in their cycle, how backlogged they are. You could be looking at 3 months before you get your first paycheck, up to, I've gone as much as 4 months. Now, if you're buying 5 houses a month and you're stacking that on, you can start doing the math of how that could really eat into your cash flow, and eats into your cash flow really quick. But yeah, so affordable housing, but I do some wholesalers, always looking, bring me deals. But usually they're doing flips. I found most wholesalers.
And that leads me to my last question is, do you ever buy a property that's already rented out and there's already a tenant in it? And I guess that's for both of you, but mostly the owner, what does that look like to transition management companies and tenants and all that stuff? Is it messy or?
No, straight business. So I run mine I like to think now, he saw me in my not so good days, because you're going to get your nose bloodied, you're going to get your teeth kicked in, but you just got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. But I like to think I run it like a very well-oiled machine now. So I will take on your tenant, and I know what that house will bring me. I know exactly what I'm going to get. I know that zip code. You go to HUDuser.gov. It will tell you what an FMR is, or fair market rent. It tells you exactly what you're going to get on a fair market rent there. Now, a lot of gurus online will tell you that that's what you're going to get in rent, and you do not get that. So I'm going to say, just as a rule of thumb, you'll get 90% roughly of what it's showing you. There's some mathematical formulas to get out of it, but just for basic terms. If it says you're going to get, $1,500, you're probably going to get $1,350. Does that make sense? What was the rest of your question? My ADD's kicking in.
Is it when there's already a tenant in the property and you're
So what happens is 9 times out of 10, I almost 99% of the time buy 3 or 4 bedrooms. That's the sweet spot. 2 bedrooms, you don't make as much money on. You're going to make a lot more money because the jump is around 1,000, 1,100 for a 2 bedroom, and it goes to 1,300, 1,400 for a 3 bedroom. To go to a 4 bedroom, it's usually $50 to $100 depending on the zip code. So that sweet spot is 3 bedroom. So I'll buy a 3 bedroom, and I just bought 5 of them at the beginning of the year, and this guy was the definition of a slumlord, but good houses, good areas. He was getting $700 a month. I'm like, good Lord, you're killing me, your Smalls. So I took him on. I also learned that my team can only handle so much. So I'm paying cash. I'm on an assembly line. So cash is king. So I got to get these things out because I'm going to do a cash out refi so I can keep pushing this boat forward. So as I pay cash, I realize, okay, now I got these people. What am I going to do? I've also learned the hard way that if they're paying $700, Section 8 will only go up 30%. So, I'm only going to get X amount. So what I really did, and I felt the pain just recently, is I kicked them all out. I gave them a 30-day notice. High five, see you later. But the cool thing is like those houses that I was getting $700, I just rented out for $1,550. So, like I said, it's business.
you can give them a 30-day notice and they can go far. Unless they want to pay the increased rent. But they will, and Section 8 will allow them to, this is 30%.
Yeah. Section 8 determines their portion. It's based on their income. So, and then in Section 8, it's going to determine, like you said, if they're paying $700, well, their voucher may be only good for this amount of money, so they're not going to increase it by there. But if you push them out, put somebody else in that's got a $1,500 voucher, then now you're getting $1,500. As far as the 30-day notice goes, as long as they're not under a lease or under a month-to-month lease. Now, if they're If they've signed a lease a year ago for a year, then you've got to honor that lease. But
So what about you as the management company? They have a lease, they're in there, they're staying. Like, what do you need from the previous management company to your management company to make that transition smooth? Anything at all?
nothing. I mean, we'll have to. The hardest part of the current tenants is getting them to sign. It's called change of ownership, and it's not that difficult. I say it's the hardest part. It's more of just getting in contact with the tenant the first time. And they don't understand what's going on. They think the rent's going up, and usually it's just, hey, get them on board. A lot of times, yes, the rent's going to go up because you're not going to buy something if we can't push the rent. And same thing, as long as the numbers work, I mean, I think it's fine. You know, you do your home inspection. If the numbers work out, then yeah, buy it already occupied. I mean, like I said, the management side, it's easy. You know, we can always push the rents, and if they say no, we're not going to increase it, then you know we can let them go. Find somebody else.
I'm so sorry. Does that voucher stay at the same rate for X amount of time? Is there an expiration? Does it go up over time?
You can request an increase every year, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
So she was asking about if you have a tenant in there already. If you're buying a house that's currently Section 8 and has a Section 8 renter in there, do you have to go through that full inspection again, or you're just inheriting all the paperwork that's already been done?
Yeah, it's just inherited. You'll still have to do the once a year inspection. Like they'll just do that automatically. But yeah, everything's inherited. So the lease will transfer ownership. Everything transfers.
You'll know when you're buying them, you're doing your due diligence and you're doing your underwriting. You need to underwrite every one of them. You need to know your numbers. Know your numbers. So if I'm looking at a house that's 3-bedroom, it's got 1350. I know that's pretty decent. That becomes more attractive to me. It's less attractive if you got a tenant in there for 700. And a lot of people will try to push the 1% rule. Well, the biggest issue you run into in Mobile, the 1% rule doesn't work real well. Insurance is high. Taxes and everything, it doesn't work real well. So you're looking at basically a 2% or more rule. Go ahead.
Thank you both for the introduction. I have two questions for you. One, to take on these additional challenges in Section 8, you said you're a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy too. Is there enough financial return over and above a normal rental property? So that's the first question. And go ahead, please.
So the answer to that is yes. So my ROI, I should have had these numbers out because I am a numbers guy. Like I do remember when I was looking at Airbnbs, I wouldn't jump into an Airbnb unless it was getting a 20% ROI on my cash on cash return. This blows it out of the water. So my cash on cash return on these is, it depends how you do it. So there's multiple ways you can do this. You can buy houses, you can put the 20% down, you can go to the banker, and you can do like a commercial loan, or you can get a DSCR loan, which they're awesome. The only problem with that is a small investor as myself, or you can get a hard money loan. If you're not familiar with that, we'll explain that too. But you'll eventually run out of cash. I can only buy so many, but I've learned how to crack the code, and I know what that house is actually worth once I fix it up, and I'm paying cash. And I know some places when you do a DSCR loan, they'll call a seasoning period. Some are 3 months, some are 6 months. Anyway, I'll pull my cash out. And I know that I've got $75,000 in that house. I'm going to pull that house. That house will go for $130,000, and I almost hit it all the time. Not all the time, but the majority of the time I'm going to hit it. And I'm going to pull my cash out. I'm going to parlay it. I'm just going to keep going forward, keep rolling forward.
I'll also say yes. It is, and the reason I say that is your biggest expense always is going to be vacancy. And one thing that Section 8 properties typically, not always, but they don't go vacant. Tenants are going to stay there for cash tenants, our average turnover is 1-3 years. For Section 8, it's 5 to 10 years. You know, so that's where you're going to make up most of anything, even damage wise. And then obviously you're getting higher rent. But the vacancy rate for me is where is going to be your biggest difference.
So I think the other thing is too is investors who invest in Class A are looking for appreciation first, cash flow second. I'm investing in B- and C classes, and that's more cash flow is what I'm looking for first, and appreciation second.
Same here.
My goal is $500 a month. Now let's be realistic. I don't always hit $500 a month, but that's my goal. So if I can hit $500 a month, that's a home run. But I'm okay with a double. Maybe it's 300. I'm even okay with a single if I'm at 250, but I can see potential there. Now, I have ventured out and I have gone a little bit above my buy box, and I also go below my buy box sometimes. But I've got some that I would consider like an A minus category that I've got a really good deal on. And you know, it's the ARV on it's going to be amazing. To me, it's also a long-term play of like, hey, that's a great appreciation, but I just got a whole bunch of cash that I'm going to play with now.
Thank you.
The thing is, you have recourse as the property manager, as the owner in the Section 8 program. So I know that like Section 8 has can have a bad rap, but if you have a tenant that damages your property, you can report them to the housing authority, and they are at risk of losing their voucher, which is a huge risk because there's to try to renew that voucher, you lose it, you're probably not going to get it back, and there's a huge wait list. So as the landlord, if they damage your property or they're, doing things you're not supposed to do, you actually have something to hold over their head. You can report it to the housing authority. Now, they have that on the other side, too. Like, if you're not upholding their living standards, they can report that, too. But it is kind of a nice thing that you have with the Section 8 program that you don't necessarily have with your straight renters.
Good to know.
A second comment to what you were saying. I have heard this from someone that actually works with the housing authority in Mobile, and they said that there are professional renters that will, if there have been, they can't get one with Mobile housing anymore, they'll go to Pritchard housing. If they can't get with Pritchard housing, they'll move to another housing authority. They'll just keep doing that their whole life because they're professional renters. So sometimes it's not as much recourse as you want it to be, but that's kind of, I would say, a smaller percentage of the renters.
Thank you. I have a second question. This has to do with the number of homes that Mobile County and Pritchard County per year are willing to fund Section 8 homes. Is there a limit? How does that work?
It's the number of vouchers, so not even homes.
Yeah, the number of vouchers.
A year.
Is there a limit on the number of vouchers, or can anybody with a certain criteria go get a voucher?
Is a couple of years. I just went and met with Pritchard Housing the other day, and the wait is years to get a voucher. You have people a wait list just to get a voucher. It isn't like you just go sign up and get it. No, you got to go put your name in it. You got to do a bunch of paperwork, and then you wait years for your name to be called. And they hand out X amount per year, but there's not enough demand. There's not enough. The demand far exceeds the housing line. So you're 2 weeks, they're gone. And I know when I got a good one, I'm like, don't screw around here because this is gone. This is going to be gone by the time you get back tomorrow.
So there's enough people with vouchers than the supply.
Yes. I am a little surprised. I was just telling Christian earlier at the amount of people that they're picky. I always thought, hey, if you got a voucher, you'd just be happy to get in there, right? But my philosophy is every house I have, I would live in it. I would live in every house I had. Now, that doesn't mean I live in it today, but sometime in my life, maybe it was when I was in college, whatever, but it was a house I would live in. So I don't want to put somebody in the house that I wouldn't live in. And I'm also really big on, I do believe in keeping a straight business, but I also believe in giving back. Because I think if you give back, the good Lord will bless you. And I believe when I align it right, and I love servicemen. So if I can help a homeless serviceman that has got about, I'm gonna move in the front of the line all day long. The other one I've been going and is people coming from the Penelope House. If you're familiar with the Penelope House for battered women, they get to the front of the line. So we try to help out and give back and get those people to the front of the line. So,
thank you.
Is the housing authority give you some of that information, or is that in your application maybe?
No, what happens is those once those people know, like the Penelope House and or the people helping out veterans, they'll reach out to us.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question, what Kumar was saying. I don't want to be political, but I just want to know what is your opinion about the cuts that's happening in the government?
What's happening right now with those?
Do you think it will impact the Section 8?
No, not at all. And I got a strong opinion on this, and I've studied this, and I'll go in detail if you want me to. So I don't care your political beliefs, and it don't really matter. To me, if I'm looking at it from purely a standpoint of investing, I looked really hard at going to other states and investing, and I came so close multiple times. But when I can still do it in my backyard, I'm going to do it. I got up to St. Louis, and Missouri's a red state, but then they tried to push me over to Illinois, on the Illinois side, into a blue state. I want to go to a state that is landlord friendly, okay? So I'm going to invest my money in a red state, and because I want to protect myself as a landlord. Secondly, Trump has been in administration before, and he didn't cut HUD. What is happening now is they're trimming the fat. I do not believe, in everything I've read and everything I've watched and everything I've studied, they're not cutting the HUD program, the Section 8 program. But what I do believe, and I believe 110% in my heart of hearts, this needs to happen, there's going to be reform on it. Because there's people out there that, you have people that actually need to get on the program that are waiting years, that can't, that actually need some assistance. Whereas right now I have a tenant, they have lived on it for 30 years in the same house. They're one of my tenants that I bought, that I inherited, and all their kids are on it. But they're not trying to get off, and they're very capable of getting it off. But I'm not the one to judge them. As an entrepreneur, I've always said entrepreneurs are the type of people, you tell us the rules, we'll figure it out. So if that's the rules, I'm going to figure it out. But I do believe that there will be some reform. I think you could see that going into more of, hey, you got a 3-year limit, anything like that. I'm all for that, and I think that's a good thing. They are cutting back on certain things, like I mentioned, that was started because of COVID, which was emergency funding for like the Penelope House and things like that. That was supposed to go for 10 years, I believe. So those will probably be cut because they're running out of funding, and those will probably be cut this year. But Section 8 as a whole will not.
Thank you. So you're buying primarily good houses with 3 or 4 bedrooms, netting $1,300 to $1,500 a month, is what I heard.
Yes.
What's your average purchase price on something like that?
So up until recently, the most I've ever spent was $85,000. And I just recently went over 85, but majority of my houses that I buy are 50 to 75,000. So I would say my average is about 65,000.
And then you're putting money into it after that?
Right, so I got that down to the exact science. I do the exact same thing every time. I don't do anything different. Everything is the exact same color. It's just, to me, it's an assembly line. I can't even dress myself in the morning. I don't know colors. All I've done is went and looked at somewhere else that looks pretty. I like it. What color is that? Perfect. I'm gonna do that. So I do agreeable gray, white trim, LVP, and I paint the outside white and gray trim.
So you do the same thing regardless of the condition you buy it. You put that in it every time, unless it's perfect.
So the inside, yes. The outside is about probably 60% of the time I paint the exterior. Depends if it needs it or not. I hate painting brick. I don't paint brick. Yeah. And I love slab houses. They move to the front of the line. Brick slab houses I love. But majority of the time, yeah, I'm doing the same thing. And I can get it all done for under $5,000.
All that for $5,000. Excellent.
But that's in-house. And I got my own guys.
And I would say, if you're investor starting out, if you have multiple, I would still do that, whether you're cash or Section 8, like come up with what you like and stick to it, because it's going to make everything cheaper in the long run. Like, you use the same paint color. When they move out, you don't have to go think about it. You just go, you've got the can, whatever. Say, leave it at the house, the tenants touch it up. Same floor, like just do the same thing competitive, because it's going to make your whole process of turns just easier in general. Yeah. And there's no thought behind it. You're not going and trying to rework a new system every time you buy a house.
You mentioned that after, you purchase the Section 8 houses that already have tenants in it, and you could, if they're month to month, you could say, hey, look, we'll give you the 30-day notice. If they have a year, right, and it's not, at the top rents, how do you give them the 30-day notice? Hey, look, we're gonna kick you out here, and we're not gonna renew the lease. Yeah. And that's it. There's no problem. Hey, look,
they're month to month at that point.
No, but they're a year. Let's say they're a year.
No, I don't.
And so when they're gonna renew the year, I'm sure there's contracts that have that you say, hey, for example, let's say your contract. What does it say? 30 years. Like if they wanted to get out sooner, is that part of the contract, or?
I'm saying if the tenant wants to get out sooner.
Yeah, if the tenants want to get out, there's certain
time limits that I'm assuming both the seller, I mean the landlord and the tenant have to notify if they want to get out.
It's a 30-day notice.
It's a 30-day notice for both sides.
Well, I mean, you can write in your lease whatever, but but yes, our lease is 30 days.
So there are tenants that have been on the system for a long time. I learned. I'm a very naive small town country boy, and I take everybody at their face value. But I learned some people know how to play this game a lot better than I did. And what will happen is they'll tell you they want to get out of it for whatever reason. They don't like the area. They want to move. They found a better place. I mean, they get a lease. Well, then all of a sudden it becomes what I call hell. It becomes hell because they'll start tearing stuff up. They'll start breaking stuff. And, I got one right now that I have literally fixed a brand new AC unit. I don't know what they did. I don't know what happened, but I fixed the AC unit, tore a big old hole in the floor, ripped the vanity off the wall. I got video where they put toothpaste, cell phone charger block, toothbrush, a ball and rocks down the toilet. Well, yeah, your toilet's clogged now. And I've had a plumber out there multiple times, and it starts getting the thousands of bucks. So my property manager's like, she's not telling us, and I agree with her. Now it's kind of got to the point of like, okay, I'm gonna make a business decision and we're gonna let her go early because she's now costing us. We're having special meetings with Section 8 because she's turning this into them. Well, when they turn you into Section 8, you're getting calls over. It's like going to principal's office. And I was a good kid in school. Don't call me the principal's office. I didn't talk in class. I'm good. So it bothers me. Like, I take it so personal. And I've had to learn, don't take it personal. But I didn't do anything wrong. And now you're here. I'm in trouble for, well, the tenant is supposed to go to you as a landlord, and you're supposed to fix it. The last resort is for them to call you to the rug. What will happen is they know they call you the rug, you're in trouble, and you're and if you get your hand slapped enough times, you'll just be like, screw it, get out of here. So I think you just got to make good business decisions. He's faced this probably way more than me, but if they're knuckleheads, I don't like knuckleheads. I don't have time for knuckleheads. You go, and someone else takes your spot.
I just wanted to make it clear that there's very little after they can't tie you into that deal moving forward. It's like if they like it so much, right, they have no problems, but they have the rents that are lower, right, and they want to keep it there and they want to renew. Once they renew, you can make that option. Hey, you either pay this much or you could leave. The basic, you know what it is?
No, that's not how Section 8 necessarily works completely. You have to, as much as you want to dictate the rent, you don't really dictate the rent. You have guidelines and you can put some boundaries up. It's kind of like bowling with bumpers up. You don't, but what happens is if they're paying $700 and you want to keep them, and if they have a lease, I don't go into a house and they're paying $700 and I know that I can get $1,400 and buy the house with a year. I won't buy it. I won't touch it because that's a worthless house to me. Because I'm gonna lose money on the house for a year. It's just there'll be another deal. But if I do buy it and they want to move over, Section 8 will then. So this happens sometimes where someone's got a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom voucher and they're in a 3-bedroom house, for instance. Well, that 2-bedroom voucher is only going to pay me up to $1,000, but I know that I can get $1,400 for this house. You have an option at that point in time. You either take what Section 8 is going to give you, or you give them a notice. What you cannot do, and do not ever do this if you get into Section 8, is you can't charge them the difference. So if Section 8 wants $1,000, wants to pay you $1,000, and you want $1,300, you can't charge them $300 extra. If you do and you get caught, you're kicked off Section 8. I got millions of bucks invested in this. I ain't getting kicked off Section 8. Yeah. So I'm gonna play by them rules. So a lot of people do that. I've inherited tenants and I've bought tenants from other people that were, hey, they're paying $1,500. Well, then I get it and I see their voucher is only $1,300 and they've been charged them $200 extra. You can't do that, and I won't do it. So,
yeah, and so that's a business decision saying, hey, $700 I could, and it's a year lease. I'd rather not take that deal because I'm going to be losing.
Correct. That goes in your underwriting time. You don't do your underwriting.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. So you want to make that decision because it's not going to make sense.
When you're doing your due diligence,
it's a headache to get it out, or to get them out before or even towards the end of the lease, because they have that option to say
outward bid on a house. Majority of the time, I know what that lease stands for before I bid on it. And I know that navigate. I also know that someone's paying $700 a month in rent, they're probably not on a year lease. They're way behind in this true. So that's, but yeah.
And always get a copy of the lease, whether you're buying
A good realtor.
everything. Yeah.
We'll find that out for you.
And then just going off, he's talking about the tenant clientele a little bit. That's one of the cons, but I mean, you can get that with cash tenants too. That'll tear up the house. So, I mean, there's a little bit higher risk when you're coming to that. The biggest issue we find is talking about the repair stuff. So if I've got a cash tenant and they call and say, hey, my toilet's clogged up. I send a plumber out and they say, hey, the kid flushed the toilet down the toilet. I charge that back to the tenant. Okay, so the tenant pays me back on that. All right, let's say I do that with Section 8. They call and say, hey, toilet's clogged up. I charge it back to tenant. Well, tenant says, I don't have a job. I don't make any money. They don't have a portion of rent. And so now am I going to evict this tenant? I'm getting $1,400 a month. Tenant has $0 portion, so Section 8 is paying the whole $1,400. Am I going to evict this tenant over a $250 plumbing charge? Or am I just going to say, wash my hands and let's keep rolling? So that's one of the, kind of the big issues we find. And some of the inspection stuff that may be tenant caused, charging them back to the tenant, or we just repair it and let's keep rolling. And that's kind of going to be your call, whether you want to make that or not. But like I said, cash versus Section 8, as far as the tenant clientele, I can get just as bad of a tenant on cash as I can on Section 8. And Section 8 tenants, like Mara was saying a little bit, they are held, they know there's a risk that if they do enough damage, they can lose that voucher.
I'll go ahead, one last person. I won't hog the time here, but in getting back to the numbers, you said 65,000, another 5,000 for repairs. That's on top of the 65, so that's 70,000. And the house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, would rent for $1,200, $1,250, $1,300. Did I get the math right?
About $1,400, yeah. So I just bought one for 60, and I got about 70 in that one because I had to do some other repairs. But and that one appraised, I know what they're going to appraise for. That one appraised for 133 or 135, and I'm getting a voucher on it that was right at it's $1,390 or $1,420. It's $1,400. So
thank you.
But here's something else that's important about the numbers. When you're investing and you're buying multiple family and you're going to buy an apartment complex, let's say it's going to be $1 million, okay? If you've ever looked at $1 million at 8% versus 3%, that's huge. That's big money. And that's what one of the things they're talking about right now is a lot of these people that are on 5-year notes that had 3% on these apartment complexes, they're coming due. There's going to be a big turnover, they're saying, in the multifamily. On these $50,000 houses, you can take a 4 or 5% and you can move it to 7%, for instance. The numbers aren't that huge. You're not slowing me down. I mean, you're talking minuscule numbers. And here's the other thing I will say about this. So many people get caught up in the minutia of everything. Okay, it's $50,000 at the end of the day. Yeah, it may seem like a lot of money, but let's put that in perspective. Everyone in this room right now will walk out and go buy a $50,000 car and not even blink an eye. Okay, that car is not going to make you $1,400 a month. Okay, the other thing to think about is, well, I don't know anything about houses. I don't know anything about Section 8. Well, I would venture to say a lot of you all in here don't know how to change your oil, don't know how to change your own tires, and don't know how the engine works. Okay, that's essentially, if you will go out and take that first step, just jump, take the first jump, and you line yourself up with a property manager like this, who is like a mechanic who can fix your car if it breaks, that's all you need. That's all you need. You're lining yourself up with some bankers that will help you get that process. Oh, here's the other thing. It's not on a 5-year note like a $50,000 car is. It's on a 20-year note, a 30-year note. And the great thing is in the United States is that's all tax deductible. It's a total game changer. And you start investing in stuff like that. So
also the house goes up in value, the car goes down.
Correct.
One thing too is you said you do cash. Is it from the cash out refi that you're saying cash, or are you getting lenders involved?
What was the last part of mine?
You said that you'd buy cash.
Yeah.
Is that cash your own cash out of your own
pocket?
pocket?
I started with my own cash. That's if I sold my house. I had a house on Dolphin Island. And I made some money on it. Not a lot of money, but I did good. And that was my seed money to start. But I turned it into a lot more by buying and fixing up. And so if you all are familiar with Bigger Pockets, the Burr method, I'm doing the Burr method.
With the Section 8.
Yeah. Burr, it's buy rehab, rent, repeat. I think there's refinance, repeat. Yeah.
What's your lead time getting a Section 8 in once you do that method?
My turnaround time?
Yeah.
I try to be 2 weeks roughly, but getting the person in there is going to be about a month and a half is probably realistic before they're moved in. Because it usually takes me 2 weeks. I usually try to buy houses where I can get my team in and out in 2 weeks. But while they're in there, after the first week, generally speaking, I can start showing that house, or I'll start showing the house when as soon as they get in there, because it's under construction. A tenant's going to be able to see, hey, this is a good neighborhood. I like it. I can see what you're doing with the house, and I can rent a house out it's under construction. So more than likely, I'll get it rented while it's still under construction. I still know that even though it's under construction, even if they rent it the very first day, I know that it's 3 weeks out before they're going to do the inspection. So it's just a time.
So once you get like the CO, on it, you get 3 weeks before you get it before you get the inspection in, which the property manager already is on top of the ball. Once you buy the property, they say, hey, once you give me the CO, basically you're done with the flip, that I'll notify the housing department, and we should have that inspection.
If you have a good property manager, and Christian was talking about this earlier, you need to be working hand in hand with them. Hey, Christian, I got one coming up, 3 bedrooms in the 17 zip code. He knows that zip code like the back of his hand. He also has people in his back pocket that are looking for that. So what'll happen is like, Christian, I got one here. He's like, all right, actually, I had a lady looking over there the other day, boom, and he'll line it up. And 9 times out of 10, you can get that lined up before you even get too deep in it.
Yeah, okay.
So obviously, the cheaper numbers work better, but are there still areas you would avoid?
Or I don't buy in Pritchard, I don't buy in Chickasaw.
Okay.
Yeah, the city of Pritchard itself, so not even like the outskirts. If it's in the actual city of Pritchard, we don't manage anything in there. And it's not even so much the houses per se, it's the actual city itself, like dealing with everything in that area.
So Pritchard is, what I learned in Pritchard is it was a lot harder. It took a lot longer to rent. I actually like Pritchard, but what I found is a lot of people that are in Pritchard are trying to get out of Pritchard. They're not trying to go back to Pritchard. So the demand was a lot less. The other issue is Chickasaws. They'll put you in jail if your tenant don't pay their sewer bill. And I don't have anything to do with that.
And as far as the vouchers, there's Mobile in Pritchard, but a Pritchard voucher can rent anywhere in Mobile. So it's not like, now Pritchard's going to pay a little bit less. They're a little bit easier to deal with, honestly, but they're going to pay a little bit less as far as market rent. But I've found them a little bit easier to deal with. Like when I want to ask for a rent increase, I just send them an email and say, hey, this is the tenant. I want to increase the rent. They say yes or no. Mobility, they got to fill out a form. They got to sign all the stuff.
And the last thing, maybe a letter could be involved here. If I wanted to start a Section 8, which, it does interest me. I've done some studying on that. I have my, a rent right now that I bought a house that I lived in, moved out, got a new house, and I rent that one out. But I'm interested in the Section 8 because of the margins, that, they're a little bit, or at least the out-of-pocket costs are more reasonable. And you could get some cash flow in there if you get the right numbers. How would you go about that? Like with a traditional, you get a traditional loan, it's a 3.5% down FHA, or conventional 3%. How would that work as an investor? Have you first with you, like, what's your experience if you do that, or you still just do cash yourself?
So it really depends where you're at. Cash is king. I forgot the thing you said there, which I thought was awesome. Something scream, what was that?
Oh, money talks and cash screams.
That's right. That is key. Cash will buy you a lot more deals. But if you don't have cash, you don't have to have cash. I'm telling you, the best thing since sliced bread out there for an investor is a DSCR loan. So if one of these guys can work with you on a DSCR loan, it gets you in. But usually on DSCR loan, you're going to have 20, 25% down. The FHA loan, I think there's some guidelines. You got to live in the house, whatnot. But So for instance, I bought a brand spanking new house in Gulf Shores, and I rented it out. And I'm literally, as we speak, unloading my Class A properties and vacation properties and moving them into Section 8. So that answers your question on what I believe. I know the appreciation. I know I actually got offered 70 grand more than what I paid for the house just the other day. I turned it down because I got a friend living in it. I feel like I owe them, just because that's a nice thing to do. But my vacation rental it's gone. It's going into Section 8. So, but I would, if it was me personally, I would unload any Class A's and go there. But I will tell you this. People don't like it. Realtors don't like it. I had a young lady. She was a great realtor. She had sold one house in a year. I bought 3 from her in a week. And then I was like, this is her. She's it. She is my cat's meow. I finally found someone she's going to rock it. She fired me. She came to me and she said, I like you a lot. I just don't want to sell these type of houses. I really want to be known as the person who's selling houses on the Fairhope Bluff. Good luck to you, Tiger. To me, I got to pay my bills. So if I'm a realtor, I'm going to sell whatever sells. But realtors don't like it. It's hard to find a good realtor. I want to give Mara a plug. Mara's phenomenal with investors, and she's really good with numbers. So if you're looking for numbers and how it works, 9 times out of 10, when you're coming to Mara's deal, she's already done the numbers for you, and she's pretty darn close on what it's going to.
And if I don't know, I ask Christian. I'm like, probably point Christian. And I'm like,
No, I've never had a realtor that sends me more information about a property without, like, I can usually she'll send me video walkthroughs, pictures. I mean, here's all the analysis. And I'm just like, yeah, you're correct. That's my analysis usually.
To answer the DSCR question real quick. So typically, and there's always exceptions, minimum $50,000 loan amount, which means 62.5 purchase, because it's going to be 20% down. Yeah, there's some options for 15% down. You don't want them. So it's going to be 20% down. Interest rate today is going to be in the 7s, something like that. So you can't use an FHA type loan to do something like that. It's got to be 20. Even if you go conventional using your own income, it's got to be 15 or 20% down. So
15 or 20%.
Yeah, so with conventional, you can go 15% down. You have to have income then to show. With DSCR, you don't need any income. You can be a business owner writing everything off and still do a DSCR loan.
What are the terms usually? Is it 15 and 30 or?
Typically, I mean, almost every single one I do is 30-year fixed rate, fully amortizing. I've done some 40-year interest onlys. I get why they did it. It's a better loan at 30-year fixed rate. ARMs, they don't save you enough to make the risk worthwhile, in my opinion. So,
and we're covered for those repairs, those $5,000-$10,000 repairs, and that's because you don't need these as its own people. When somebody's starting now, you might make it double that, right?
I mean, it depends. I mean, I think you can get an interior house painted for $3,500, and I don't know about flooring. Let's say another more for LVP.
here was $4 square foot.
So $4,000, 4,000 square foot house. That's the other thing. I don't buy anything bigger than 1,500 square feet.
And if you don't have cash, like when I started, I didn't have cash, just throw 50 grand out. So 90% of my deals have been hard money. And they'll usually include that repair you need in there.
It's actually a good way to go and roll into a DSCR loan.
So
you do the hard money first.
Get it rented. So same thing as a Burr.
What are the DSCR loan with the ARV that they have? That was your cash out.
And the offer's almost as good as cash.
He can answer that better, but he probably has a seasoning period in there. But
yes, 3 to 6 months, depending on the program seasoning, which means you have to hold the title for 6 months. Then we can get a new appraisal, and we can get you 75% of the value of the new appraisal cash out at that point.
So I didn't know that existed, the 50,000, because most people, they want you to do 100,000, which means you got to buy a $120,000 house, or the lowest I found was like 75. It took me a long time to find someone that's doing that low. That's amazing. I didn't know that was even local. The guy I use is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I went out and found it because I was doing repeat business with people buying these houses over in Mobile. So I went and found the thing that would set me apart. It's been great to have. And the nice thing about the DSCR loans is you can ask the seller to pay up to 6% of your closing costs. So that keeps that cash in your pocket. You just adjust the sales price up by that 6%, get the seller to pay it at closing, and it keeps cash in your pocket for your rehab.
So that's 6%.
Might be $4,000 or $5,000 that you're saving by doing that, and basically putting it into the loan instead. Yeah. I did have a question for you also. You're in the building phase right now. Do you have an exit strategy?
Yeah, my kids. I want to give it to them. Yeah. So I started getting ADD kicking in. So I've already flown to Puerto Rico, and I've started looking at retiring in Puerto Rico because I got Act 60. If you're not familiar with it, you don't have to pay federal income tax, only 4%. So I've looked at things like that. But ultimately, I believe I'll just hand it off to my kids when the time is right. Or I'll go tomorrow and say sell. But my kids love real estate. I'd love for them to keep rolling with it. And honestly, move it over to someone like Christian and let them run if I pop out. But, you know, I've always said that at 55 I'm going to retire. I'll retire. It's true. It's addictive. It's surely addictive. I'll be doing this when I'm 75.
I think that's perfect way. And this, thank you guys so much. That was a great candle. Did anybody learn anything today? Yes. So we do this the last Friday every month. Next month we have Mastery short-term rentals. So we're gonna have a couple people come in and talk about the opposite of what we talked about today. We're gonna have some people come in on a lot of beach rentals and how they make that work. And then in June we have an awesome multi-family syndication partnership that's coming down. A good friend of mine from Birmingham that runs an awesome multi-family syndication operation.